Now I'm going to present to you how malaria during pregnancy is very detrimental to women in Africa. When the parasite first enters the red blood cell, it begins to consume the hemoglobin until it reaches the spleen, as shown right here. The spleen usually acts as a filter system, and then it should make a brand new red blood cell that is free from infection by the parasite. The parasite is so tricky and avoids the spleen by producing proteins which are knob-like structures on the outside of the red cell called PFEMP1. PFEMP1 is able to bind to CD36 on the outside of your blood vessel wall, and that keeps the parasite inside the blood cell in place and escapes to the spleen. Once enough of this happens, your blood vessel wall will be lined with the parasites, and this will block the flow of a healthy red blood cell to going through, and this is where most of the complications of malaria take place. Now, it seems simple to just have a vaccine that would stop CD36 from binding to PFEMP1. In fact, there are over 60 different kinds of this special protein that the parasite makes, and it takes between the ages of 6 months to 10 years old to build up resistance to this parasite. When a woman becomes pregnant, they produce a different type of receptor protein called CSA in the woman's placenta. And one of these 60 different types of proteins produced by the parasite binds to CSA and produces a whole new type of pregnancy malaria. The symptoms of this for the baby include abortion, stillbirth, and low birth rate. Recently, Gladys Kiatini, a researcher at SBRI, has found the type of protein called VAR2-CSA that binds to CSA. But in fact, this protein has many different manifestations as well. And one of these proteins that is conserved between all of them is called PFCSAL. Now, she is doing research to block the binding of PFCSAL to CSA, and if this is done, then all of pregnancy malaria can be eradicated because there's only one type of vaccine that would be needed to stop the binding and therefore eliminating pregnancy malaria.
The most fascinating thing about malaria that we have learned is that malaria can cause abortion, especially in pregnant women.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it can cause abortion in pregnant women because you have the bacteria, that is the plasmodium, that causes bacteria. It accumulates itself in the placenta. So there's a high chance of it penetrating to the fetus and therefore killing it and therefore bringing about abortion in pregnant women. So that's what we have learned that is so fascinating. Thank you.
We used a lot of different online websites to communicate with our partners. Google Docs and Dropbox were the two major sites. Google Docs was a place where we could exchange our research and questions, answer each other's questions, basically where we could upload different documents that we all could share with each other. Do you want to explain Dropbox a little bit?
In Dropbox, we shared a lot of videos, especially in the beginning. We had introduction videos, and we got to know everyone in Kenya, and they got to know us. And so in Dropbox, we shared a lot of videos, and we obtained a lot of research through that. Well, in Kenya, they don't have a lot of accessibility to internet, and so in the time frame that we were given, we did not have a lot of back and forth communication, and so that was really hard for us, and we got to see their introduction videos, and then we wouldn't hear from them for a long time, and so there wasn't a very good communication.
Right. So this year, our coordinator, Mary Margaret Welch, actually traveled to Kenya to communicate with our partners, the students and the teachers. So she not only was able to email from Kenya back to Seattle with different information and knowledge that she was gaining, she also gave them some technology that helped us navigate around our difficulties.
And so with the technology that she gave them, they were able to better communicate with us, and so throughout the years the communication has been getting better, and it's still really rough, but it's really important for future years of SeaVuria that the communication and the technology can keep advancing, so that maybe next year the SeaVuria team can have better communication and it won't be so off and on.
I think definitely first learning about our partners in the beginning when they were introducing themselves and their likes and their dislikes. A lot of the girls were interested in dancing or swimming, and us girls here in Seattle could really relate to that because we were also interested in a lot of those activities.
It was also really cool to, when we communicated with them, the way that they pronounced things and the way that they went about things was a lot different than here, and so that cultural aspect was really cool to learn. Okay, well, it was really cool to go to the biotech labs and see that what we were learning in class was actually applicable, because at one point when we went to the lab, Gladys was actually doing a lab, an ELISA lab, which we had just learned about in class, and it was really cool to see that that was actually being used in a lab and that it was corresponding to what we were learning in class, and it was just a really cool concept.
And it was also really cool seeing what real scientists do every day, and that they're normal people too, and not always in white lab coats and coming up with crazy equations, and that the lab is just a really cool place to be. And I think that a lot of the girls in the team have realized that maybe this is something we could do in our future.
When we were communicating with the people in Kenya, we asked them a lot to explain how they felt about malaria and how it affected them personally, because one of the first things that we learned off the bat was that it affects mostly everybody and they get it numerous times. And so through talking with the girls, it was actually really amazing how unfazed they were by malaria and how everybody got it, and it was just like the common cold for them.
And how they didn't really know much about the disease at all. And it was cool doing researching it, and then we could help teach them about what's affecting them every day, I think.
Yeah.
And it was also really nice to put a face exactly on what Emma was saying to the research we were doing, and that we can make a difference in their lives as well, and they can help us understand, and that Seattle is totally connected to Kenya in more ways than we thought with malaria.
The students at Roosevelt High School were able to take advantage of all the malaria resources that Seattle, Washington provided.
Seattle is a fantastic community. It's truly amazing. It's a spirit of supporting global health that is really encouraging and really inspirational. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and PATH and Seattle Biomed and the University of Washington and other organizations. And they all work together and try to accomplish something bigger than themselves.
I think it really, I don't know, it's a very exciting place to work, just because everybody seems to have the same goal. And it's a unique institute because I don't know how many institutes are out there that are actually just studying infectious disease, especially just the three, malaria, HIV, and TB. And I mean, we have other diseases, but those are really the major ones. So everybody seems to be in the same page and everybody seems to have the same goal.